Hello, folks. No nonsense. We're gonna get straight into this and get to a new game. No new game plus. No, just get a new game, and we're gonna be starting at the hardest difficulty. And I'll be giving you some more things to talk about once we get past the intro to the game, which is about maybe 30 to 25 seconds ish. And I'll get to talking about what we're gonna do.
They told me, son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Okay, now we're here. I'm gonna trust that the microphone level isn't too high or too low. I'm gonna hope that the gameplay volume isn't overbearing compared to my microphone levels. But anyway, let's go. It's been an entire year, plus actually, since I have completely played through this game myself, and it feels crazy because it also felt like maybe a few months ago since I've beaten this game. I got the platinum trophy for this game, which means that I just pretty much got all the achievements, like 100% complete the game, and everything that it wanted me to do. So I haven't touched it for an entire year now. I've been talking about it, I've been looking through it again here and there from time to time, but I have not played it really, like to completion. I've not played through it in an entire year. Usually, or what I used to do for a few years, I guess, was I would complete the game once every year. I don't know if I'm going to keep up that tradition, but it seems like I'm still keeping it up without even really trying to. And as I progress forward, I'm going to try to make this playthrough as seamless as possible. I'm going to try to make it move along and not slow down too much. But I do want to point out some pretty cool things that most people tend to miss. And I don't really want to chastise anybody too much for missing a lot of really cool details. Because, hey man, look, there's a lot of things hidden in plain sight. And there's a lot of things that are just hidden out of sight in general. But this is excellently designed. This whole sequence is organized very well. We can see some of the things that this entire city is based off of, or built off of: the foundation of science, an understanding of industry, and art, which is something that you don't usually see unified in like some kind of holy trinity. Art is usually like very excluded from the concept of science and industry, because when we're talking about industry, and when Ryan's talking, or not Ryan, when people like usually in our livelihoods talk about industry, they're talking about building shit, businesses, things that aren't usually so freelance as art can be, especially during this time period. And yes, this is a very excellently like placed sky view window, don't know what to call this, but it's very, very well composed. There's an entire museum of the Bioshock game's development in this remastered release, and it goes over some of the concept art very well, and I think it's fucking dope. It's some of the best concept art that's been actually put into the final version of the game that I've seen. And in this sort of sequence we're coming up to next is a very, very famous speech by Andrew Ryan that's coming up in a few seconds, and I guess I'll shut up through it. I was originally going to not show this entire speech and skip through it for this video and edit it out, but hey, it's important, so I'm gonna let you sit through and listen to what this guy has to say for like the 50th millionth time.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
And that's kind of it, actually. So here in the remastered version, we see a lot more like stuff, some assets added into the sequence, like the little seaweed that's growing, I think a turtle, the jellyfish, that we passed by, that was included in this remastered version as well. They really touched up some of the environment on this like particular shot because it's a very important shot. I'm going to be talking over some of the dialogue. I'm going to try to not talk over some of the like really important dialogue because hey man, voice acting's really good in this game. And in case if I do talk over some kind of dialogue while I'm explaining something, I have the subtitles right there below the screen, so you can just read along if you don't feel like listening to me chatter the entire time. And I'm going to use this fucking loading screen to talk about a few other things, because I need to talk about a lot of shit during this introductory video. First thing I'm going to probably lay down a line here. I'm going to make the videos like 10 minutes long each video after this entire Welcome to Rapture introduction, okay? Maybe I'll sneak in a little bit of Medical Pavilion, but I'm going to try to make sure this video or the series is digestible as possible. Because, fuck, I have a lot of things that I would like to talk about while I'm playing through the game, and nobody's really going to care that much, right? Except for maybe a couple of friends of mine. But one thing that I totally forgot to mention is that, hey, this is my favorite game of all time. Hey guys, I love this game. I never shut up about it. Oh yeah, every once in a while, you know, keep quiet, but hey, I love this fucking game. Can you guys tell? Talk about it all the time. I love playing through it. But I've got a lot of games that I have been playing that I haven't, that kind of kept me from playing this again. Also, Starfish added to the windows. That's a new touch in the remastered version as well. They just spruced up the environment a little bit with a few more assets. So anyway, back to this favorite game of all time. There's a lot of things you can kind of miss during the sequence of this intro. Details such as, oh, the bathysphere is being broken into, whatever. This part of the game is very fucking loud, so I should probably keep some of my important notes until after the sequence shuts up. Okay, cool. I think we're good now. Now we're going to pick up this shortwave radio, and we're going to meet Atlas. And you know, for some people who watch this, for some people who watch this, you're going to know who Atlas is, but just for the sake of continuity, I'm not going to mention about future spoilers just yet. I'm gonna treat this as a playthrough that is taken as it's taken, and not anything further and get ahead of ourselves. So, a thing that I want to highlight is the environment. The environment for this game is beautiful. It's immaculate. Very much so for the time that it was released in, and a lot of people do not look at the environment. Now, of course, yes, you're going to be seeing a lot of nothing, okay? You're going to be seeing a lot of patterns, some textures, which this texture looks very fucking good. Can we talk about how good this texture is? Wow. I mean, it's not, like, fucking groundbreaking for this time and age, but, like, yo, this texture is great. They remastered this pretty well, and they didn't change that much about the game's appearance, except for some textures, and some animation improvements here and there. But we can look out this window too. Bet you guys never looked at this fucking window, or any of the windows, didn't you? Looks really good. Even the very top, it's just beautiful, huh? For any of you who play this game and you don't know this as well, You can press, what is this? And you get descriptions of just about every usable item in the game. Pretty much. Very useful. Not even I went through all of these things when I first played the game, because I just fucking played it how I played it. But if you really want to know what a thing is, or you really want to know what's going on, you can read some of these descriptions, which can be a little bit redundant, because asking what you know, certain items are, it's like, okay, I already know what this is. But here we got some protesting going on. Just so that I don't have to do this later, I'm gonna look at my controls. My control sensitivity is alright. Maybe I'll mess around with it. I'll give it a 9. I'll leave auto aim on, I guess. Let's look at the gameplay stuff. I do want Vita Chambers, so I'm gonna make sure that is off for disable Vita Chambers, because I've already beaten the game on hardest difficulty without the Vita Chambers, so I don't need to prove anything to any of you guys. So this game likes to trick with well, it likes to mess with you and trick your senses here and there. Particularly through the beginning portion of like the first couple of chapters. Lots of environmental cues.
Just a bit further.
This being one of my, or if my favorite game of all time. I've played through this game many times.
Now, would you kindly
I know what to expect. So like this is just pretty much me going through how I would play through the game on the hardest difficulty on my own time, and I will treat this playthrough as carefully as I possibly can without making it too slow, because hey man, we gotta catch this up. We gotta make sure that the people on board watching this, or the person who watches this, isn't bored. I'm gonna whack that out of the way. This moment catches a lot of people off guard when they play. I didn't get hurt by that somehow. But here's where the meat and potatoes comes into play when you're playing this game in any difficulty. The rhythm of the splicers' attacks. The patterns and how they attack you, the range in which their wrench will hit you. Homie, this shit is hard. But, hey, I don't have any extra perks happening to me. With the snap of his finger. Are you as good as my daddy, mister? Not if you don't go to the Gatherer's Gardens, you aren't. Just get spliced at the garden. So this game is very hard, okay? And I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. And I didn't expect that encounter to be as close as it was. So, rip me. I don't really have a performance anxiety when I play this game, because this is the best game that I'm at in the world, right? You can still make mistakes. And I might fuck up a few times, but it's all in the name of the game, right? I'm just trying to show you the brilliance of this game as a whole. After that first encounter, it pretty much is a point where you get to learn how you're going to be encountering and how the splicers act. They act sort of sporadically, if that's a word that I can use for this description. They're wild. Sometimes they're unpredictable when you first go through the game, but once you've played through the game multiple times, you can kind of understand how they move. They go back and forth. They lunge at you. The range in which their like melee weapon strikes you, the hitbox, is weird. You should spend more time strafing side to side instead of going backwards like I have. A lot of the best way to avoid the melee splicers, or the thuggish splicers, what they're called. Best way to avoid their attacks is to go strafe from side to side, so that way they just miss you that way, because their vertical range is very far. And yes, to anybody who's watching this, I'm an analytical motherfucker. I think about everything that I possibly can about most situations that I encounter enemies when I first go through the game. So you're going to be hearing me talk about a lot of stuff that might seem boring to you. But homie, this is my perspective and how I play the game each and every time on the hardest difficulty. We're going to be taking this electro bolt, and this gives you the power of electricity. The bread and butter of your beginning chapters of the game. The concept of these things, called plasmids, is that it rearranges your genetic code in a whole bunch of $5 words. I'm gonna let this whole scene rock, and I'll shut up so you guys can hear the voice acting in this scene. It's a pretty iconic scene. I'll leave you to it.
This little fish looks like he just had his cherry popped. Wonder if he's still got some Adam on him. Let's buck. Weak! You're a weak chopper. This little fish ain't worth towing it with no big daddy. Yellow! Always have been. You'll be no better off with a metal daddy, little fish. See you floating, alrighty.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute, he's still breathing. It's alright.
I know he'll be an angel soon. Okay. That's a pretty prolific... Well, like, it's a very big, scene.
You all right, boyo?
But it goes by just like the...
Plasmid's a real kick from a mule.
And I just had to do that really quick to make sure that I don't lose my time here. Cool. We're gonna have to shock this door control, and I mean, before we move on, let's look a little bit at the outside. We got fishes. We had some luggage kind of passing by from the also we got turtle. Airplane crashed in the ocean. Look at all that luggage happening. Look at all that luggage just floating down. All that little suitcases. It's a nice little detail, okay? I like that stuff. I like this kind of stuff in any game. Not just this game. Any game that gives you some, like, environmental cues and as to what has just happened or what's currently happening. Airplane crash in the ocean. Shit's flying everywhere. Debris, all that kind of nonsense. We're gonna get through this area real quick and... Oh, what's this? Oh, shit. Part of the airplane just crashed into this bridge. We got some great design stuff here, like the fucking glass that's containing the water pouring in. This is cool shit, folks. We see that bridge just disconnects. We're seeing this secure door bursting through with water. Things are starting to flood in. You know, of course, during this part of the game, you're not in any real danger. It's just kind of showing you that happens. It's really nice environmental design, nice touches, nice cues to make things feel like they're going through in real time. Very greatly scripted moments throughout this game's story. That's a cool detail that some people miss. The splicer just running past the hallway, that's fucking dope. A lot of the setup in this game is just greatly done. It's executed really well.
Leave me alone! You're only making this hard for us both! I was just getting warmed up!
This game's audio design is fantastic. Granted, it's a little bit rough on the edges for optimization, since the sound design, or the sound effects rather, and the sound cues are all over the place levels-wise. And by that I mean some are louder, some are not so loud. Some are not necessarily in relevance to your location.
Supposed to work out for me down here. Ryan, where's my turn, you son of a bitch?
The dialogue is really fucking cool for
found
these
her that
characters
way.
as well. I found her that way. Weird shit like that. Like weird shit that you're gonna hear your enemies say throughout levels in this game.
Come on!
There we go. Circling around them is a good way to avoid as much damage as possible. Also, most people miss the dead cat. I don't know why that's there. I have no fucking clue why there's a dead cat in your Vita chamber. No clue at all. But the sound design in this game is great, of course, as I've already told you. It's designed to trick the fuck out of you at most points during like scrounging around for items. This game's sound is meant to put you like at an uneasy feeling. It's supposed to make you really uneasy, and it does a good job of doing that. For beginners, that is. For me, I'm not phased at all.
Sorry. No, I won't do it again. No, please, please, don't do that. The whole thing will go. No!
Diamond will fix me. Everything will work out. Just you wait.
As you can see, this guy has some elemental damage on him. He's got fire. Saw that? That is an example of brilliant dodging. Maneuvering around your enemies with like melee, like these guys are called thuggish splicers. Fuck that word. And you can just easily avoid them going like in this pattern right here. Now, you know, I'm not like trying to be a perfectionist or anything. I'm just trying to show you how the game's working. So I messed up a couple times in front of there, that entrance. But that was an example of really good maneuvering around a thuggish splicer. This pattern is the pattern that you're gonna want to walk around a lot when you're like running away from those melee types, and those melee types are very common in the beginning of this game. You're gonna want to go in this pattern, backward turn, even when you have a gun, backward turn. This is the pattern that you want to walk in to avoid all sorts of damage. We're gonna come across another really nice moment of voice acting here by our boy Atlas. A very, very emotional scene that I like this scene a lot.
Listen, I've got a family. I need to get them out of here. But the splicers have cut me off from them. If you can reach them in Neptune's bounty, then maybe, just maybe. I know you must feel like the unluckiest man in the world right now. But you're the only hope I'll ever see my wife and child again. Go to Neptune's bounty. Find my family, please.
And the music's pretty good too. Now we have another moment that I'll let the whole thing rock, and I'll shut up on this part. Listen here.
No one will be there to sing this song. Hush now. Mommy's gone. And Daddy too. Wait. This is happening before and none. Why aren't you here? Why is it today and not then when you were warm and sweet? Why can't Mommy hold you to her breast and feel your teeth? Oh, no. No, 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 no.
And that's the end of that sequence. That's very good. I like that a lot. And this is the sort of like, this is introducing you to the fucked up minds of your enemies, or your, you know, throwaway enemies. The guys, the baddies that you'll be fucking up the entire game. It's just setting up the tone of it all. Very well done. The context here will kind of be clarified in a little bit, but we're not going to go there just yet. There's a couple things that you would like to check out in this area. Very good statue. The Great Chain is guided by her hand. That's a really good fucking statue. That is dope. I like that design. The Great Chain being this concept of industry, science, and art, what keeps our economy moving forward, or their economy in this case moving forward, this kind of opposition of religion, this opposition of God. But ironically, the belief is not tangible, right? The concept of like what Ryan's trying to build is a tangible, very graspable reality away from religion. Religion being something that's inherently vague, and well, not inherently vague, but it's a very broad sort of spectrum of beliefs that you can talk on and on and on about for like hours. But you know, he opposes all of that. That's a great little design there to showcase what he's trying to convey. But the irony, as I told you, is that this is not really a tangible concept as much as, you know, he goes against God and any kind of religious belief. That being said, okay, get this pepper, and you'll get our first aid kit. This is important to like kind of look around and scrounge for any items that you possibly may need before going to the next area. And here's a little environmental cue. In loving memory of Winston Hoffner. This is the father of that baby that mother is talking to. That's the mother, this is the father. It's a very, very like subtle way of conveying a scenario, but before we go forward, I guess I'll explain really quick. That baby died by her hand. She killed her own baby. She's gone crazy due to being spliced up on the drugs and the plasmids and all that stuff that the game will already explain to you in a minute. And we'll have to deal for right now. It's important that you keep your distance, like, after you approach a splicer like that. It's just swap you backwards.
Our bodies, our minds, we couldn't handle it. Best friends butchering one another, babies strangled in cribs. The whole city went to hell.
People lost their minds, and that's pretty obvious. And this is where you get our first gun, the revolver. This gun is pretty good. It's a handy gun. Later in the game, it's not going to be that useful. But if you are skilled enough, you can use this weapon effectively throughout the entire game, just for very appropriate fights or instances where it can come to good use. We got some nice art here, the cow, the blood. It's all about the environment, people. The environment that you are like traversing through is the biggest character of this game, okay? A lot of stuff can be like thought about, or a lot of things can be assumed by just looking at the damage that's already been done throughout this environment. This is a rundown city, so things have happened here, and you can imagine the gruesome sort of massacres that is transpired throughout this whole city by even looking at a wall like that. 1959. I like this song a lot. If I didn't care about the ink spots, it's a beautiful song. I earned it. Let's test our revolver on this guy. This is a thuggish splicer. He's going to be a melee guy, so we're not going to be scared about him approaching us. One shot.
Charlie! Charlie, where you going?
Ah, Charlie.
Charlie! What? I got plenty more! Grandma!
And that is how you deal with a leadhead splicer. That was a pretty good fucking performance on my part. But these splicers are significantly tougher than the thuggish ones. Notice how that previous enemies have gone down in fewer hits with the wrench. This enemy is much more resistant to melee attacks. and just has more HP overall. I believe you've seen the header above their heads, indicating how much health they have left. Before we go into there and trigger a whole new thing out here, we're going to be listening to the first tape that you come across in this game, and I'll be sure to shut up and stand still when playing most of these tapes, because when you play this game, I advise you, well, if you were to play it through on your first time, I would advise every person to sit here, stand still, and listen to these fucking tapes like this before they walk into any other room. Because the voice acting and the story that you come across can be very missable. You can be triggering a radio message from Atlas, and you can cut off the thing that you're listening to and have to do it all over again. When you get one of these tapes, stop, sit down, and listen to them, if you care about the story at all. Here we go.
Another New Year's, another night alone. I'm out, and you're stuck in Hephaestus, working. Imagine my surprise. I guess I'll have another drink. Here's a toast to Diane McClintock, silliest girl in Rapture. Silly enough to fall in love with Andrew Ryan. Silly enough. What happened? I'm bleeding. Oh God. What's happening?
That's good flavor. That's really fucking good flavor. I like that audio tape a lot. It gives you, or paints a pretty nice picture of the mood that, I mean, you should be feeling. Also, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Brilliant. There's a documentary, on the process of creating Bioshock 1. And they talked about, or the developers, the artists, specifically Ken Levine and his main art director, talked about how making some of the sculptures, some of the like the modeling for a lot of like the assets was really hard. It was tough to design the whole thing and have it be appreciated for what it is. We're moving on here, though. Let's not dwell upon this for too long. Sorry for being preachy, and sorry for talking a lot, but hey, the purpose of this is to go through the whole thing in as much detail as possible and not miss too much. But I do want to make sure that you guys aren't too bored when you're watching this, because, hey man, this is a little series we're going through, and I want to make sure that we get things done as quickly as possible. One thing you'll see me do a lot in this game, especially in the hardest difficulty, is just going through corpses, going through everything that you can see, that you can find, when you play through this game, because you're gonna get some money, you're gonna get some health, some ammunition, or whatever else. Now you notice that, right? You're hearing some sounds that you're not familiar with. This is the beginning of what the game does to you a lot. Anybody who just starts playing this game for the first time on their own will be scared shitless right now. I have seen many people play through this game, and when they get to this part in particular, if they get to this room that is, they start to freak the fuck out. They start to get scared, and they start to huddle up in the corner, and they start like, what's good? They start hitting the wall, they start trying to see if there's anybody here. That's because these sound cues are an indication that there's threats nearby that you gotta be careful to look out for. That's pretty fucking cool. I'm not fazed by this, since I know where every enemy spawns at almost all times, unless I mess up the AI in some kind of specific way. But to prove that I know where people are going to be spawning from, I'm going to point it out for a couple of instances. For example, there's going to be people in the water that went up the shock right now. And this is our little tutorial to let you know that you can use your environment. The environment is a very important part of this game, and I cannot shut the fuck up about that enough. You're going to be using your environment to take out enemies. You're going to be using your environment to find cues of the story, to find what sort of mood you're supposed to be looking for. Anything like that, to see where things are, all sorts of different things. The environment is what you need to pay attention to as best as you possibly can. There's also going to be an enemy walking up this hallway and the stairs. And I want to let you guys know this, so in case you get scared, you won't be scared. Be prepared for a little bit of a jump scare moment.
Where? Ah!
And that is how you dodge a thuggish splicer. A lot of people go through that part of the game where you walk up and you turn that corner and whoa, people get freaked the fuck out. Freaked me out a couple times too. But the reason why this happened in the first place is because I looted that room. Different enemies will spawn depending on how much you explore the game, and I mean that is what I advise you to do: explore the game so you get as much experience as you possibly can. Caught that right there? Hear that? That's a little sister. That's one thing that every single person misses when they play through this game. They never fucking catch that moment. And I can't blame them, because that is a very hard moment to catch. Even a moment that I almost missed by stepping a little bit too close to the activation point. But the more you explore, the more things happen. The more things happen, the more things you get. The more things you get, the easier the game will be. Getting ahead of ourselves, the more fun the game will be as well, because you have more things to experience. When you play through this game, a lot of people tend to skip this whole area. People just skip. Skip. Don't skip. Explore. You see the arrows pointing this way, right? Don't go that way. Go the other way. Look around. You'd be surprised in how many people don't give a fuck about what's around them. They just progress forward like sheep. I know in most games you just tend to fucking walk forward to the next area like, the game's telling me to do this, so I'm gonna do... No. Take the game into your own hands and control your own experience. The area gets a little bit fuzzy when we get to this area, huh? That's a nice little touch. We'll see what's going on in this corner.
Too spliced up. I'm too spliced up. Nobody's gonna want me.
Hey, Brenda, you care to tell me why you've had a hole in the wall the size of Plymouth Rock coming out of your crapper going on 3 weeks now? Now, I ain't saying I'm Shakespeare, trying to run a respectable theater. I got working folk coming in from Port Neptune trying to catch a little diversion. And all they can think about is the stink coming out of your shitter.
Get it fixed. Now, before we go on, I would like to warn any of my viewers that there's a jump scare moment happening in a few seconds. There's nothing too crazy, but if you're playing this game on your own, you will freak the fuck out seeing people fucking lose their shit over this moment. Because it's unexpected. And it activates once you have touched the corner of this room. And listen to that tape. And that's another reason why I say when anybody first plays through this game and they're going through it for the first time, listen to the tapes and stop, like what I just did. Listen to it, and then walk forward.
Don't fucking judge me!
Not too bad, just be cautious in how you deal with these kind of guys, because they can trick you. He tried to lure us into a false sense of security by going through this corner and lunging at us. But if you know how the splicers think in this game, you won't fall for the tricks. That's another cool thing about this game, is that the AI is pretty smart sometimes. Sometimes not so smart, but that's a highlight of how smart they can be. We're coming across another really cool moment here. It's a very story-heavy moment, so I'll just shut up again and let the whole game rock. Be right back.
Careful now. Would you kindly lower that weapon for a minute? You think that's a child down there? Don't be fooled. She's a little sister now. Somebody went and turned a sweet baby girl into a monster. Whatever you thought about right and wrong on the surface, well, that don't count for much down in Rapture. Those little sisters, they carry Adam. The genetic material that keeps the wheels of Rapture turning.
Everybody needs it.
Everybody wants it. Everybody needs it.
Let's go down here. Now we're going to be introduced to the Big Daddy, and if you played through this game many times before, you can already know that the Big Daddy spawns into this location. But regardless, this moment's still pretty fucking cool. This is a very old game. Keep in mind, this game is fucking old. More than 10 years old. More than 10 years aged.
That's the Big Daddy. She got it on him. He keeps her safe.
And I'm gonna like stop talking for a quick moment so you can hear this nice little tune that's gonna play in the environment. You'll hear it. That's beautiful. That song plays again for another reason, but in another sequence. But that's really beautiful. And you can miss like little details like that. Now, granted, this is not that important of a detail. It's just an environmental cue. Environmental cues are everywhere in this game. Let's check this guy for some stuff. Now, I usually avoid alcohol because that takes away my Eve, and I don't really need to lose any more of that. It does give you health though, which I don't need any more of. We'll take some pistol ammunition rounds. These are director's commentary reels, which I won't play any of these because it takes up a significant amount of time. But you can collect all these and get some director's commentary for the documentary. Look through your environment, and there's not much more here than what we've already gotten. We're gonna be coming across a cool moment.
We'll make a day of it. Go tacky little nothing.
The money.
Now, when I play through this game, in very slow fashion, I like to pay attention to all the things that I hear because it's really fucking cool. The splicers are fucking crazy, and it's fun listening to their random ass dialogue. Also, I like to point out that cool moment with the shadow. That was cool. This game uses like shadow and direction placement of assets is just very important. It's key. Look at this light. Look at this light source.
But I send her flowers every day.
The composition of this is brilliant, isn't it? That was framed so you start to feel that like tense like feeling of anxiety. Is like, oh fuck, there's an enemy coming over. I gotta get ready for for this encounter. I knew it was happening, so I was well equipped for that. On this hardest difficulty, 3 headshots for these like leadhead splicers is kind of enough to take care of them. Better weapons or stronger weapons can be less. But also, warning, a little bit of a jump scare moment.
I can control myself. I can.
But for those guys, 1 headshot is all you need. I like to give you guys warnings, at least for this beginning sequence, because I have a couple people or one person who's watching this in particular that doesn't really like jump scares that much, and he's not a fan. This game does have a couple of jump scares depending on how you take certain environmental changes, but I mean, trust me, a lot of people have gotten fucking freaked out by some of these moments. It may not seem that crazy once I point it out, but if you're playing on your own, through your own senses, you're gonna jump at a couple of these things if you're not warned about them. And I know I kill all of the anticipation for these like jump scare moments, but I just want to make sure that people don't get uncomfortable when they watch this. So this is a nice opportunity to get these guys in one shot. One of them is a leadhead splicer, and one of them is a thuggish splicer. The thuggish ones aren't too threatening. Leadhead ones are much more annoying to deal with because of how much damage they take. We're about to come up on a sequence where we have to fight waves of enemies, and I'll show you just how to deal with this wave.
Security alert in progress.
So stuck up here. I'll show you where I'm stuck up.
Wait for them. Let them go in the water. You'll have a thuggish splicer running around, spawning in from this area. You just kind of wait in this area, this part of the map. It's the best way to let things go about. And you're gonna see your thuggish splicer bait you. What he's trying to do is he's trying to bait me into getting within like his proximity. And when they realize that's not enough, I missed all the shots. It's okay. When they realize it's not enough, they just come after you and they give up, and they take the risk of lunging at you. We got more enemies coming in through here.
I didn't mean.
It's Ryan. Goddamn Andrew Ryan. Well, damn it. They shut off access to Neptune. There's another way to get there.
What are you waiting for? Go.
What are you waiting for? Go.
Let's go. There's another med pack there, but I don't really care. I'm gonna keep progressing forward. There's a few other things you can pick up in that bathroom area, but we don't need to. I'm just gonna keep this thing moving along. And this marks the end of the video, guys. I'm gonna let this rock out, but this is the last I'll speak during this video. This is the first one. It's over. We've gone past the first area of the game, which is called Welcome to Rapture. If you guys want, or if a couple of you guys, whoever watches this, I don't care if 2 people watch this or 4 or 1. Whoever watches this, if you want this video to be with like shorter each episode after this episode, like 10 minutes each, I'll make it shorter. One person I know who might be watching this would want these videos to be a little longer because he's pretty interested in what I have to say and what the game's giving you. This game is very in-depth, and I am very in-depth with how I explain what I see, so I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna make this 10 minutes each episode, but I'll figure out a way. I'll record episodes ahead of time so I don't have any sort of like day where it's not uploaded. But I hope you enjoyed the whole thing, and we'll be seeing you in the next one. To Medical Pavilion we go.